Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy the story. This was written by a real human. So please leave a like if you enjoy it to help the channel and subscribe for future content. It's free. Links to the story and Patreon will be in the description. Please go and support the author. Any support is always appreciated. If a human narrator would like to narrate my stories, please contact me. I write these in my spare time between work and my children and just don't have the time or quiet space to narrate them myself. I hope you can understand. Thanks for your time, and again I hope you enjoy the story. And for the love of everything YouTube, this is literature, so please leave my channel alone. Let's get into it, folks. Cats at the Cradle Part 7. Barbara looked out the viewport at the greenish-red planet with splotches and lines of blue lakes and rivers here and there. Mars Station was bustling as usual, with merchant ships large and small docked along the docking slips near the viewing tower she was standing in, and the bulk freighters sitting on massive docking berths that were contained within the enormous Hellas Basin crater. She had just finished speaking with the chief Mars Corps engineer and signing the seemingly 100,000 signatures required for her to hand the USS Regent over for repairs. 7 months. That's how long they had estimated for the full repairs. It took them 6 to completely build a US Alliance equivalent hull. "Are you ready for that beer, Captain?" she heard Captain Gregory ask from behind her. "Beautiful, isn't it? Amazing we've come so far since the old colony days." She took in one more view of home and turned to reply. Yes, it is. Lead the way, Captain." Dirtside Bar and Grill was where they had ended up. It wasn't quite the highest-end establishment, but their steaks were far and above anything else you would be able to get this close to the station docks, and they offered one hell of a view. They also didn't water down the beer. Win-win-win in Barbara's opinion. She found herself sitting across a small round table from Gregory. They had decided to drop the captain bit as it got old rather fast. "So how long has it been since you visited Mars?" Gregory asked, holding his large glass mug that read, FUQ Beer Co. She was nursing a similar one in front of her. "A while." She took a pull off her mug and continued. "After I healed enough I could get back to work, I signed up with Sol FTL and worked on a freighter traveling the Cradle loop." She saw him wince and hurriedly continued. "It wasn't that bad. In 10 runs the ship I was on only got damaged once in the minefields, and we were able to limp on through." The Cradle loop was a reference to an FTL lane that had been so heavily mined during the start of the Omega crisis that U.S. Alliance ships couldn't even blink in without setting off the self-replicating mines. It had taken more than a galactic decade of hard work just to remove enough of those mines to facilitate the bare minimum of trade. And in the cycles since, the lane hadn't gotten any better, with the addition of lingering pirates just outside the minefield waiting for any hapless merchant tug or freighter they catch trying to enter or exit the system. "Only once? Damn, you must have had an excellent navigator," he replied, taking a drink. "Not really. I think we just got lucky," she stated matter of fact. He was strung out on Scylla extract, a highly addictive drug found in abundance on poverty-stricken areas of the U.S. Alliance's territories, made from a common root and rendered down into a sticky paste to be rubbed on nerve clusters for a euphoric high. Addicts are commonly referred to as rubs. "He ended up getting everyone killed a few runs after I was transferred to become a gatekeeper." He let out a slight whistle. "I think I remember that incident." That was all he said about it, looking into his beer. "I was going to buy some land near my parents after my contract with Sol FTL ended. But it seems that's been moved up a couple of cycles," Barbara said with a shrug. "I never imagined I'd be able to do it, though." She looked out the window again. Her dad was right, she barely recognized it without the domes. "Well," he gestured at her beer, "drink up, Barbara. Would you care for dinner?" He tapped her mug and continued, "Whatever they are cooking, it smells heavenly." He had been staring at a small black chalkboard sitting by the service window. Gregory waved at a vowel dressed in a white and black server's uniform, who started their way immediately. "How can I help you, sir?" The waiter bowed slightly. "My name is Furl." Barbara could see the orange ring around his central 2 dominant arms, denoting it was a he. "Furl, I'd like the chili steak cubes, a plate of cheese fries, and another beer." "Barbara, what would you like?" he asked. "Double it and make it a pitcher," she replied, raising her glass mug in a saluting gesture before downing it and sitting it on the table. "It's been a long week, I might need 2, she said deadpan. It took a second before he let out a laugh and similarly finished his mug. "Agreed. Let's have it then, Furl." An hour later, 4 pitchers of FUQ's beer sat at a table next to them, and their food was virtually gone from their plates, and Barbara realized she was very much enjoying herself. It was so warm. She didn't want to move, she hadn't slept that well in cycles. Ah shit, her foot was asleep. She tried to wiggle her toes and move her foot around a little, and touched something fuzzy and warm. Her eyelids popped open and she was looking at a sleeping Gregory. What the fuck, Barbara? She exclaimed to herself as she virtually leaped out of the quite warm and comfortable bed, and noticed she didn't have anything on. She could barely see in the darkness and she didn't want to wake Gregory as she tried to quietly gather her clothes and get dressed. She liked him, but what the hell was she thinking after one date? She mentally chastised herself. She looked at her communicator. 4:47 a.m. She finally got her boots on and carefully made her way to the bedroom door of the suite they were in. Somebody had spent a good bit of credits on it by the furniture she could see on her way out. She leaned against the door as she finally got into the hall and let out a sigh. What had she done? She'd been a civvy too long and quit thinking with her brain about 2 pictures in. She groaned, holding her head. No regrets, she decided. It was done. Hopefully he wouldn't hate her for leaving without saying anything. After a few moments to orient herself and get her bearings, she headed to the railroad station that would take her to Little Kansas. She made sure to message her father she was on her way to the station and got the "on my way" message in return. Even with new magnetic technology, the ride was nearly a galactic hour, and by the time she stepped off the transport shuttle and was immediately overwhelmed by the smells of her childhood. She breathed deeply. The loamy smell of freshly tilled soil, discernible even a kilometer from the nearest field. The light was amazing. When the domes were first built, they had been made of plasteel and they allowed most of the light from the sun in, but over the first decade the dust storms scored the panes so bad they changed from transparent to a rusty red-brown. And the domes had to rely on artificial light for agriculture. It had been too expensive to replace the panes for a farming community. Barbara. Over here. She heard her father's voice and turned to see him waving. He stood off to the side so people could move past him and wore his usual blue denim overalls. Surprisingly, he wasn't the one that looked out of place. It was her as she made her way through the crowd, and as soon as she got within arm's reach he grabbed her up in a big hug. "Oh, I missed you, girl. Do you have any bags?" he asked, sitting her down. "No, Dad. I left most of the things I have on my ship. We'll be in dock for a minimum of 7 months though, so I'll be around for a while." She was grinning ear to ear and she knew it. It was so good to see her dad. "Well, that sounds like a great story when we get home. Come on, your mother already started some bacon and eggs by now. If we hurry we can make it back before they get cold." With that, they walked out of the station, and when she laid eyes on Dad's sled, she let out a whistle. "She's a beauty, ain't she? I see why Mom won't let you drive this very often. That's a fucking sublight engine for a Corvette, Dad," she exclaimed. He had cut everything out of the sled. Not uncommon for farmers to do, as the standard sled consisted of 3 seats and a bench seat in the back. Her father's only had 2, and those crammed at either side of the engine housing. And that was it, no bed to haul anything. She looked at it, her eyes couldn't believe Mom had let him build this. How fast can it go? He held out a set of goggles attached to a breather, a common mask used to filter out dust on Mars, and as she took them and put them on he replied, "I dunno, haven't had the guts to spool her all the way up. Fast as I've gotten her was getting here." He gave her a mischievous wink and donned his breather and sat down, strapping himself into the seat. She did the same. By the time they glided into the sled slip next to the Thornton ancestral family residence, she was sure of 2 things: her hair would never lay down again and her face hurt from laughing so much. Dad wasn't off by much as Mom had gotten a little late start because she couldn't get her brother to answer his communicator. So she kissed Mom and grabbed a shower, threw some old clothes on, sweats and a 3X black shirt, and was just sitting down at the table when her mom sat the platter of bacon in the middle and some biscuits on another. She couldn't believe how much she had missed home. "Are we ready, Captain Gregory?" Rear Admiral Zhang asked as he strode onto the command bridge of the Phoenix. His gravely voice seemed to carry over the obscene amount of excessive noise a command bridge always had with ease. "Yes, sir. The USS New York and USS Neptune are already on the way to meet us at location Alpha. Engineering will have the blink drive spooled up anytime. All personnel are accounted for," Gregory answered. "Did you get that debt paid?" The Admiral raised a bushy eyebrow. Gregory felt his face flush red for a moment but managed to keep his composure. "Indeed, sir, I didn't know she could drink like that. Hell, I didn't know it was humanly possible." "Sir." The Admiral chuckled and slapped Gregory on the back. "Well, of course she can. She's Navy through and through, even if she doesn't realize it yet." The CME bridge officer gave Gregory the "blink ready, sir," and he motioned for them to continue. A warning flashed, "blink imminent. Brace." And everything seemed to twist in on itself for a moment, All sound was nullified by the intense gravitational warping for a moment, and quickly rushed to catch back up as they quite literally appeared 40,000 light-years away at location Alpha. "Contact starboard," yelled his electronics specialist, after a tense heartbeat. "Friendly transponders detected. It's the New York and the Neptune. Performing mission handshake now." With a ping, Captain Gregory and Admiral Zhang both received a file on their communicators simultaneously, and Gregory knew the captains on the other two ships had received the same thing. Gregory looked at the Admiral, who nodded and made a flicking motion which put the mission goals on a central screen usually used for communicating bridge to bridge. Gregory swallowed when the star chart popped up depicting the task group's route. "Is this accurate?" At least his voice hadn't cracked. "Yes, or it was as of yesterday." The Admiral shook his head. "If this report is true, we have a much bigger problem than anyone knows. And Fleet Command has ordered us to travel to Far Sea and take a peek." Gregory shivered as he watched what looked like a moon-sized ship the long-range sensor drones had picked up just inside the ruined Sol B-111 FTL Gate. The drone had followed it for about 500 light-years through the FTL lane, where it had caught it tearing a hole in the FTL lane wall, something that should be impossible, and disappeared into real space. The drone was unable to follow. Everything had just changed. United Sol Alliance territories were no longer safe even with the Deadbolt protocol. The Viril had technology that allowed them to exit the FTL lanes anywhere without a gate. Thanks for listening. Please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the story. If you feel generous and want to support the author's work, go visit the Patreon link in the description. Any support is welcome. Until next time.